everyone. Welcome today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. We have a lot of amazing things happening across the city as always. I'm excited to start up with Mayor Concanon. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me as always. I know that we have lots of things going on. It's budget season, and this will be a busy week of budget meetings and hearings at City Council. So I appreciate you taking a few minutes away from that to catch up as we usually do.
Sure. Happy to do it.
One little thing before we talk about general business is there's a great opportunity. There's a scholarship that gets offered by Waste Management every year that has opened up for applications, and we always like to let people know about that.
Yeah, it's a nice offer from our friends at Waste Management. They sponsor $3,000 scholarships to Woburn residents, and they're eligible. They're open to students who are pursuing a 4-year or 2-year college path or a trade school, or if they're serving in the military. The best part of it, I think the students will be happy to hear this, and I know the parents will as well, is that you really just have to submit your name. You don't have to fill out a 35-page application. You don't have to write essays. And I know a lot of the kids are in the process of doing all of that, and it's a lot of work. So this is a nice one where you really just submit your name, a little bit of information, send it here to the mayor's office. The deadline is the end of July, and then we'll draw the name out of the hat the next day and notify the winners. So it's low key, low effort, and a chance to maybe pick up a little bit of money to help defray the cost of books or something. So we appreciate Waste Management doing that for us. We encourage all the kids to apply, send us their name, and hopefully we make it a little easier on 3 students heading off in the next path.
Every bit counts. So I know we're grateful for that.
Yeah.
Before we leave Waste Management completely, as Lauren, one of our producers, called it, we had trash talk last week where we had an opportunity to talk with them about the upcoming changes. And ironically, my family does dinner at my mom's house on Sundays, and all the grandkids come over. And my nephew, who manages this house by himself, was talking. I said something about having had trash. He goes, "Wait a minute, what's happening with the carts?" So I had all the answers for him. Didn't
Yep.
expect that to come up at our dinner conversation, but it was lovely that we did. One of the things I wanted to just do is we did have that interactive discussion. It's recorded and available for people. But also just wanted to ask you if there was any question that came up that kind of stood out to you that we want to make sure to, reinforce to residents.
It's funny. I hear it described as trash talk. Fortunately, there was very little, if any, trash
Yeah.
talk. It was a productive, cordial discussion with the residents who came out. And our friends from Waste Management were there and Board of Health to help answer any questions. As we know, this is phase 2 of the change. Phase 1 was the rollout of the recycling changes last July, and we learned a lot from that process. We'll be able to apply those lessons as we do the trash bin rollout this July. As I mentioned the other night, we have a rolling list of frequently asked questions that help people understand the process. And I think we probably gained a couple more questions the other night to add to that rolling list. And that's accessible on the website. I think we heard a lot of the same questions this time around. I guess the most basic one is, why do we make the change? And I think we were able to explain that. Hopefully people realize that essentially the industry made the change for us. The idea of being able to put out whatever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want, and have 2, 3, or 4 guys drag it all to the truck and throw it away. Those days were ending anyway. We are into the age of automation when it comes to trash and recycle pickup. Woburn was one of the last communities to accept this change. So it was inevitable. So the change was made mostly because we had to. And then the reality of making this change is that it should lead to and is leading to cost savings for the city. So I think that's probably the question that starts off every one of those Q&A kind of sessions. And it's one we're more than willing to and happy to provide. The change was made essentially because we had to, and also because it does lead to savings for the city. We do recognize that change is not always easy. But again, I think all in all, we handled the change to recycling last year pretty well. And we did learn some things about that that will help us do this one even better, I hope. We are available here in City Hall, Board of Health, us, Waste Management, to answer any questions, to walk people through the process. And we hope it goes well. And as I said the other night at the end of the meeting, we are all in this together and we'll get through it together.
Yeah, thank you. And I know we're all available for questions, and the mailings and things will be going out as well. So that'll be good. Um,
Yep.
there's a lot of hard work that goes into picking up our trash all the time. We certainly encourage people over the next few weeks before the end of June to maybe do a little extra cleanup if they've got some things that they want to do and have a clean slate. I spent most of Sunday covered in dirt cleaning out the garage with a couple people in my family, and I wouldn't call it the most fun Sunday that I'd ever had, but it was very satisfying, and we're glad to have that under our belt. Um,
Yeah, it was kind of a impetus to a lot of people to do a little bit of that spring cleaning and get ready in advance of the change. So all in all, I think it's a good news story, and yeah, I think we will be the better once we're through it.
Yeah, we agree. And we're here to answer questions as they come up. So, this week is Public Works Week. We have an incredibly dedicated team of people, a relatively small one compared to
Yeah.
some communities. And they do a lot of work that we see every day, right? They fill potholes and they build things. I mean, just all the infrastructure around our roads and things are work that they do. But one of the things I think a lot of people don't really know is how we're structured. And as we're going into budget season and as we're looking at what we're doing, I thought it would be helpful for you to just spend a minute talking about the important work. And of course, we want to thank them for all that work, but also helping the public at large understand what really makes up the Department of Public Works and why we're structured the way we are.
Yeah, so there's the Public Works Department, there's also the Parks Department.
Mhm.
A lot of people think they're the same department. They have distinct missions. They do work together quite a bit. They have a great collaborative effort to make sure the city runs well and looks nice. But DPW specifically, there's a highway department, the roads, sidewalks, the things that you see most visible work being done. We have water and sewer side, which is another big piece. We have people who are doing tree work. But to your point, we don't have nearly the numbers we used to have. It wasn't that long ago, really, where the DPW had about 100 people. We're down in the 20s now. We're much more efficient. We're lean. But I think the DPW does a very good job taking care of the city's infrastructure. The other piece that we have is facilities. We have a lot of buildings here in the city of Woburn, and the DPW is currently responsible for not only maintaining them on a daily basis, but looking forward to see what they might need and planning for the future so that they don't fall into disrepair. So, those are some of the main responsibilities of the DPW. And again, the numbers have shrunk over the years, but I do think it's important that people realize the capabilities of the department. Just this past year, they've done several projects in-house that would have cost us, I would guess, 5, maybe 10 times more, depending on, who got the job and, just what the industry and the market is bearing. They did a project, just one small example. They did a project for the school department at the White School. Malcolm White School is really stretched thin for parking. Anyone who's gone there during the day or gone there for an event or gone there to vote even, you realize that, there isn't much in the way of extra parking at the White School. And the school department approached us and asked whether our DPW could help them, and our engineering department helped them as well. We designed an extra parking lot for them. We were able to carve out a dozen or more spaces just to take the pressure off. And that was completely done in-house by our DPW crew. We had to pay for materials, but the labor and the design, the implementation, the execution of the work was all in-house. I'm sure that project would have cost us a heck of a lot more if we had gone outside. They're also working on a project uh, at Magazine Hill, the end of Man's Court. There's been an area that was underutilized in terms of parking. And again, an in-house project led by the DPW, Jay Duran, Rennie Carroll, and Chris Doherty. They've made it their mission to improve that area, and it's dramatically improved. And we're getting to the point where we're hoping to be able to pave that area, connect it with a sidewalk down to Main Street, and we will have opened up dozens more parking spaces right downtown, which I think everyone can agree we desperately need. So those are just a couple of examples, and there's even more that the DPW has taken on in-house and saved the city lots of money. So I do want to make sure that not just during this week, Public Works Week, but every week, that people appreciate the hard work being done by our DPW team. And again, that does go for the parks, separate department, but similar work. And they work collaboratively together. And you don't have to look any further than just out the window here, out my window onto the common, and see how beautiful that's maintained and the collaborative effort that is put forth to do that. That will be on full display on Memorial Day. And I would put our common up against any common in New England. And it's obviously fitting for the ceremonies we'll be holding on Memorial Day. So kudos to the DPW and all the guys down there that do such a great job. And as we said, they're doing more with less, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, they really do work very hard, and they do such a big variety of things that I know I sometimes don't even think about how it just sort of magically happens, right? But
Yep.
they do all that magic. We do have Memorial Day coming up, and our veterans officer Bob Davis has worked really hard to put together a really wonderful tribute, whole bunch of things that are happening across
Yeah.
the city. I know you participated for many years as city council and now as mayor. What are, something that you're particularly looking forward to next week?
Well, you're right. There are a lot of events, and we appreciate the hard work of Bob Davis and the team, the different veterans groups, the United Veterans Council, that work so hard all throughout the year, but certainly at Memorial Day and Veterans Day to make sure that Woburn does it right in honoring our veterans and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So I appreciate Bob's leadership and the strong team that works with him on that. There's several events that occur throughout the week, and I would encourage everybody in Woburn to try to make it to at least one of those events. I have the privilege to make almost every one of them, and I can tell you that it's time well spent. There's always an opportunity to meet a veteran, meet a family member of someone who lost, their person in at war, and it's nice to be able to thank them and to show our appreciation. And that's what the whole theme of this week is about. The Woburn pauses and takes a moment to make sure that these people know that we appreciate the sacrifice. So, there's an event on Thursday at the Senior Center. This is all on the website, but a nice event at the Senior Center. Usually a few veterans there that we're able to have a one-on-one personal conversation to thank them. Then there's the opportunity to put out flags at Woodbrook and Cavalry Cemetery. I really like that portion. There's usually probably 10 or more, maybe a dozen or more people out there placing flags at all the veterans' graves, and you get to see the names and maybe learn a little bit about those veterans. So that's especially touching. I get to put a flag on my dad's grave at Woodbrook at the Veterans Lot. I appreciate that. On Sunday, there's a breakfast for veterans at the Moose Lodge. It's a phenomenal breakfast, I can tell you that. There's always a good crowd there. And then on Monday, of course, we have the Memorial Day ceremonies in Woburn, which are several parts. We start down on the Common, then we make our way up to Woodbrook, and we go over to East Woburn and reform at the fire station and make our way down to the Jewish cemeteries, and then finally we wrap up at Calvary. It's a lot for people to do every bit of that. I understand that, but again, I would ask that maybe in the course of a week you squeeze some time in for commemorating and appreciating those who served and those who gave their lives I don't think you'll be disappointed if you attend one of these events. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, I agree with you. Last year was the first year, well, maybe in many years anyways, the first year that I went and placed some flags at the cemeteries ahead of time. And it is a really moving experience just because you sort of have that moment of pause
Yeah.
and recognize
Yeah.
who they were. And it's a wonderful group of volunteers, some of which are new, but a lot of people have been doing it year after year after year, and we're grateful
Yeah.
for their organization of it and coordination of that.
Yeah. So if people are interested in that piece in particular, Friday morning at 9 a.m., they'll be over at Calvary in East Woburn, and they'll have the flags. There's enough people there to give you a little bit of instruction on how to do it.
Yeah.
They pretty much assign you a section, and you walk over and place the flag. A little tip that I learned after my first year. It's always a good idea to bring a
Yeah.
pair of gloves and maybe bring a big screwdriver to dig the initial hole where the flag goes. Otherwise, you may get blisters. But that's Calvary Friday at 9, and then 8 o'clock on Saturday over at Woodbrook. We repeat the same thing. So again, I think that's probably the piece that hits home the most for me. And I would encourage people to take a look at the website for all these opportunities and maybe pick one.
I'm glad that you reminded me of that tip because somebody had lent me something while I was there and I had forgotten that I'm going to need to bring mine this year. So
Yep,
that is true. It makes the job a lot easier if you got the right tools. So
sure does.
fantastic. Thank you for that. Arlene up next. Thank you for joining us, Arlene. I'm
Hi,
Hi. Welcome, Arlene. I'm
oh,
really appreciate you joining me today to talk about an important event that we have coming up. We have an event coming up. It's known as Wear Orange, which is happening on June 6th. I thought it would be helpful to just remind our audience a little bit about why we get together on that day and what that day is all about.
yeah, it's a very significant day for anybody who has had felt the impact of gun violence. You know, it's I hope that you're a person that has never had that enter your life. Um, but I guess if you're one of those lucky people, it would be good to keep yourself informed about gun safety so you could prevent that tragedy from entering your life in any way. So, myself, unfortunately, I've been impacted in the most uh, powerful way that anyone could ever be hit by such a tragedy. It was my daughter Shannon Mira was murdered by an ex-boyfriend at 24 years old. She was shot in the head with a 357 Magnum gun and disposed in a dumpster after her death, where she was found a day later. So, you know, it seems kind of surreal to even have those words come out of your mouth. But you know, it's a true, and there's nothing that can be done. And there's been, unfortunately, so many other victims in our country that it happens to on a daily basis. I don't know the numbers, maybe hundreds of people per day are murdered by gun violence. And the thing is this pain, this tragedy, this loss, you know, is preventable. And
Well,
so the more we educate people as to how to prevent these things and how to promote gun safety, you know, the more tragedies we can prevent. So that's where I see Orange Day for me. It's such an important event.
yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. It is a day that we can come together and support people who have victims that they either themselves or people that they know and raise awareness around safety and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your daughter. She was, whenever I hear you speak about her, um, it hurts and makes all of our heart breaks that she had to endure that. But I also see the twinkle in your eye and
Mm.
remembering the amazing person she was. I want to give you a chance to just tell us a little bit about who she was.
Well, I have to tell you, Shannon, you know what? It seems so typical when people say her smile could light up a room, but it
Yeah.
certainly could. She had a giggle that was just so infectious. And I have to probably say the one of her strongest qualities was she was just so kind to people. Really, really enjoyed, people, and she enjoyed people who were different than her. I mean, she actually taught herself how to speak Khmer, and was really, wanted to help people of all kinds. And she was enrolled in law school, and that's what she was doing when she was murdered. So she's my pride and joy. What can I tell you? She's my daughter, and the most important person to me and to many people in her family. So yeah, she was just if you met her, I'm going to tell you, you would come away different, and you'd come away a better person because of her spirit and her kindness. So
Well,
that was
I
outstanding.
believe that having met you, her mama, and the important work that you do, you've created a foundation in her honor. And one of the reasons we do this event during the day is so that some of the groups from the school, the high school, can join us. So I think we at 10 o'clock, is that correct, that we're gathering on the 6th?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
On my calendar, yeah.
And the Mirror Foundation group will be joining us, and that's really important, incredible work that's done there. Tell us a little bit about that, what's done in the high schools around that organization and how that honors your daughter.
Well, it's mostly, preventing dating violence um, through education and awareness. So the students are amazing. They belong to the Mirror team, which is a group of high school students who are, they become peer leaders, and they're involved in a lot of activities like Orange Day and other things that promote healthy relationships
Yeah.
and in a healthy community. So,
Yeah.
if we have a healthy community, then can promote all sorts of things like healthy relationships to prevent tragedies and to have people have a happy, fulfilled life. You know,
Arlene, thank you so much for joining me. The 6th, I know, will be a touching event where we get to honor those who have been victims. And unfortunately, Woburn is no exception. There are people who have, police officers and residents and others who have been impacted. This is a time for us to take a moment of pause to champion safety and to remember those who have lost. And we appreciate you for coming on today to talk about that with us.
you're welcome. And thank you for all the great work you do in spreading such important messages to people about gun awareness.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you so much. And next up, Thomas, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you joining it today. I was very pleased when you reached out about the Good Samaritan program. It's an incredible opportunity to help people in our community in a different way. And I would love to just give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what the Good Samaritan program is.
Okay, so the Good Samaritan program was initiated by two Lexington residents who also were members of the First Parish community, and they donated a lot of money to provide financial awards to people who are in need. Um, so let me read some of this. In offering guidance on the selection of individuals to receive these awards, um, we want to have awards given to people whose lives could be significantly improved by modest amounts of money. Some examples that we have is refugees' first month's rent, or an opportunity for a student who otherwise wouldn't be able to go to college, or perhaps a camp tuition for a child who can't afford it. The amount of money is usually between $1,000 and $5,000, and it's obviously not limited to Lexington residents. We're offering it to the surrounding communities. Um, and so the deadline is pretty soon. It says here June 1st. I think I had sent out an email June 8th. So there's some flexibility about that. And this is an annual thing. We do. So if you can't get your request in this year, keep it in mind because it's every year we're going to do this. And all we're giving away is the income from the fund. So we're not going to run out. So please keep that in mind. Um, and so in order to get the award, we need a letter of reference from a social worker or a caseworker or a clergy member or somebody who can attest to the need and to the yeah. So
Yeah.
the letter should be written on the institution's letterhead, so it's official. We also need an estimate of the amount wanted, the estimate of what it's going to cost to do it. So, for example, the way I said that was a little awkward, but we do have a request from someone who needs help with rent. Now, she needs $6,000 or $8,000, something like that, but she's asking for 1,500. So she's got documentation saying she needs so much, but she's only asking for part of it from us. Um, and so, oh, and some proof of need, of a first page of the 1040 or some other documentation that shows that. But and then so mail it if you know if you have someone who needs the money and you have an application filled out, please send it to 7 Harrington Road, Lexington, Massachusetts. I believe the zip code is 02421.
We'll double check that for you. Don't worry. So,
Lexington has two, and I've got one, but it has the other. And the application can be found on the First Parish website, which is fplex.org. And you go to the search button and put in Good Sam, and you'll be able to find information and the application form. So
fantastic.
we look forward to getting, helping people in Woburn and
Well,
other towns.
we're very grateful that you reached out to let us know about it. There's, sometimes things that are sort of modest in size make a huge difference. And this is one of those programs where something is out of reach. And this can allow somebody to do something really wonderful with their life, for themselves, for their child, really kind of get a handle. And thank you for bringing that. And thank you for letting Woburn participate and giving us an update about it. We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Excellent. Woburn, I hope you've had an opportunity to catch up on lots of things that we talked about today. As always, please continue to take good care of each other.